Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to Licorice All Sports here on this Friday morning. Alex Johnson, 2012 Sydney Swans Premiership player. Alex, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you going?
Come on, mate. Thanks for having me. It's interesting times in the world at the moment with lockdown, so do those things is it's pretty good to fill the time, I suppose.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining. It's really good for my own career and building. So it's great to have someone of your calibre come on the show, mate. So truly appreciate it here at Licorice All Sports. Alex, you played at the Northern Blues in 2019, and for the first time in a long time, you had quite a bit of continuity within your football at VFL level. You played 10 games last year before succumbing to your seventh ACL. Tell me about the experience of coming back to Victoria, number one, and then obviously playing the footy that you were, and then unfortunately doing the injury, which has set you back so many times before.
It was a great experience. Really, I was probably naive to the whole VFL system a little bit. I'd obviously grown up in Melbourne and played under 18 footy and through the ranks there, but getting back involved in the VFL was great fun. I really enjoyed it. It was a great opportunity at Northern Blues under Josh Fraser and obviously under the affiliation with Carlton. So to work with the people there as well was really interesting for me, and I really enjoyed it. In terms of playing the footy I did, I was wrapped. I hadn't played that many games in probably 7 or 8 years there. So to play the last 10 games of last season was huge for me, and body felt good, and everything was sort of on the right track, I suppose. Finished the year off there, and then obviously everyone sort of knows what happened with coronavirus. Footy got put on hold. The Northern Blues sort of got abandoned, I suppose. Carlton cut ties with them, so that was the end of that club for the time being. And as you mentioned, I was just training with the old Zabs just in June, July there, and went over on my knee again, and succumbed to a seventh ACL. So it was not the ideal, not the ideal situation, I suppose. But with the current landscape, I think not having continuity in training with coronavirus and things like that, I'd probably been down there for 4 weeks, back training, feeling really good, feeling fit and strong, and just one of those things, just an innocuous incident at training, just went over on it, and now I'm sort of in the recovery phase of that.
Interestingly, you did your seventh ACL, and 2020, as you just mentioned, has brought some real challenges due to the COVID-19 virus and the current Victorian lockdowns, which I think we're in. Restrictions have been eased at the moment, but predominantly we've been in stage 4 restrictions since about March, on and off. So how have you been spending your time during the recovery of your seventh ACL, and what have you been up to during the lockdown period?
Yeah, it's been terrible, hasn't it? Just the fact that it sort of started in March and it was, potentially it could go on for a couple of months or whatever. The fact that we're in October now is just unbelievable, really. I sort of can't believe it's gone on for so long. But yeah, I mean, having gone down with another injury, I had surgery, and I've just sort of been looking after that. Really, haven't had too much on in terms of work-wise or anything with no footy, no coaching and stuff like that going on. Just been really concentrating on that, I suppose. Just trying to get knee strength back and get back running, and just sort of spending time with family. I suppose that's all you can do at the moment. You can't. There's not too many reasons you can leave the house. So getting out to the park with the dog and stuff's my most exciting part of the day.
What kind of dog do you have?
I got a little border collie, so got him
nice.
in November last year. So the timing was pretty good, actually. He's only 1 now. To have him sort of running around at this time has been good fun.
Good little dog there, mate. It's awesome. You were a development coach at the Northern Blues last year in 2019. Through my research, I noticed you did a fair bit of assistant coaching up at the Swans as well. So you probably built towards that development coach role at the Northern Blues. So post-career, I'm not exactly sure if you've officially hung up the boots yet, but moving forward, where do you see your coaching going? And I guess what's the end goal for, I guess, the aspirations of senior coaching?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. As you said, I did a little bit of stuff up at Sydney under Rhyce Shaw, one of my great mates there. A great mentor when I first started playing, and then he obviously went into the coaching ranks, and I helped him out for the 2016-2017 season. And it's one of those things that you probably don't think about too much while you're playing, or you're concentrating on his playing. But me having so much time on the sidelines, it was a great opportunity to re-engage with the group and help those younger guys fast track them, I suppose. It was yeah, it's something that I could impart a little bit of my knowledge and experience on them, and hopefully help them reach the next level quicker than what they might have. So yeah, it's something I love. It's a huge passion of mine. Whether that'll translate into a career, I'm not 100% sure. I love the development side of things. I love working with kids that have the aspirations to get drafted or to play AFL if they're already on a list. So working with those, with kids from the age of sort of 16, through to 19, 20, I suppose, if they haven't played yet, is hugely rewarding, and it gives me I've got huge passion for it. So yeah, it's something that I will stay involved in footy. As you said, I'm not 100% sure whether I've hung the boots up yet, but
yep.
I'll sort of make that decision in due course, and then we'll sort it out. But I'd say I'll definitely stay involved at coaching, whatever level that is. I think I'll always be involved in footy in some capacity.
And just with the Northern Blues, was it? Have they officially? They're officially out of the comp. Do they run out of money, or what's the go with the Northern Blues looking forward to 2021? Are they going to bring them back, or they're officially out?
Yeah, there's a chance they are going to bring them back. There's sort of some work being done behind the scenes at the moment. So it'll come back if it comes back, it'll come back as a standalone. So Carlton they sort of cut ties with them, I suppose.
Cut ties. Yep.
Yeah, so it won't be an affiliate with them anymore, and Carlton will run with their own VFL team next year. I mean, whatever the VFL is going to look like, sort of no one knows at this stage.
Yep.
And then the Northern Bull Ants, which that's what they'll play under, I'm pretty sure, will look to enter the competition. And as I said, who knows what the competition is going to look like next year, but if there is one, and however it comes to fruition, they'll try and enter a team in there and be competitive.
Yeah, it's certainly a club with a lot of history back in the old VAFA days as well. So hopefully they do come back bigger and stronger in season 2021. Now, Alex, you played in Sydney's 2012 Premiership side in only your second season of senior footy. So I guess tell us about those experiences playing off a half back line, contributing to a flag-winning side at Sydney, and then also, it was another 6 years before you made your return to actually playing another senior game. So tell us both mentally and physically what that experience was like, being so high, you've reached the top of the tree, the top of the mountain in footy. Every boyhood dream came true, and then the amount of setbacks you had with all your ACLs, 6 in total at Sydney.
Yeah, it's I mean, it was 8 years ago the other day on the 29th that we won that premiership, and yeah, it seems like an absolute lifetime ago, really. But it was the greatest experience of my life, really. It was unbelievable. I think just the way that everything panned out for us was pretty incredible. We were in my first year in 2011. I played 20 games, which exceeded all my expectations. I just sort of wanted to make a little bit of a mark on the AFL, but I didn't think I'd play that many games. And we played a couple of finals that year, so to have a little bit of a taste of it was pretty important, I think. And then in 2012, I played every game that year, and we were. I mean, as people would remember, we were heavy underdogs going in against Hawthorn. We'd had a really good win against them earlier in the year, come back from 30 odd points down or something in Tassie, which was huge for us. So we sort of knew we could match it with them. But yeah, everyone, they were heavy favourites. Everyone wrote us off, and I think that galvanised the group even more. And yeah, you look at that team. Obviously we had some really good players, but the star-studded lineup that Hawthorn had, I think we just had 22 blokes that did their job and did their roles, and we sort of carried out the plan we wanted to execute to a T. And it was an unbelievable game the way it panned out. But yeah, it was absolutely the greatest moment of my life. It's something that I dreamed of as a kid, going to the G and watching grand finals. You're sort of just envious of the guys that get to walk away with a medal around their neck. So to do that at such a young age, as you said, in my second year, is my 45th game, and only 20 years of age. So yeah, really, really happy memories, and it was unbelievable. But obviously the year after, things took a turn. It was 2013. Probably the first full pre-season I'd done. They look after you in your first couple of years. But I'd probably gone into that pre-season thinking I could really make a mark on the competition and want to become, one of the premier defenders in the competition, and put on a little bit more weight, got a bit more stronger, so I could compete with the bigger guys. And it was the third NAB Cup pre-season game that I just innocuously just stepped off my left to go and tackle Jago Mira. We were playing the Gold Coast out of Blacktown, and yeah, just that buckled under me, and then from there things sort of just got more complicated, I suppose. I had a reconstruction, tried to get back, it wasn't right, so had an arthroscope, then had another reconstruction, and then I tried to play in 2014 and lasted just a couple of minutes in a reserves game, and my knee sort of wasn't right. It gave way again, and then there was just this sort of setback after setback. I suppose I had a number of surgeries on my knee trying to get it right. There was a bit of an infection in there at different points, which were underpinning all the reconstructions I had. So that was messing with the integrity of the actual graft that they'd put in there. And then, yeah, as you said, it was not until 2018 where I made a return to senior footy. So yeah, it was a hell of a long journey from the start of 2013, and a few ups and downs. I suppose I played a few games in 2017 in the reserves, and then my body wasn't great. Other things started to give way, so I got delisted and had to come back and prove myself and fight for a contract, I suppose. And I was really fortunate that they looked after me the whole time, really. But those things definitely test your resilience and your patience. But yeah, I mean, to get back and play was all I wanted to do. And that game against Collingwood is a very, very close second career highlight, and it almost means more to me because of the work I put in. I think, playing the first couple of years, everything went seamlessly. It couldn't have gone better. My start to my career. So to have a turn like that and then be able to make it back was really special.
Yeah, very well said. And I can't even imagine the resilience required to, I guess, continue to try and get back at the top level. The Bloods culture, Sydney Swans culture, has always been renowned for, I guess, just backing each other. The blood jump action. We're in red and white at the moment, but it's known for that Bobby Skilton talked about it all those years ago, and I guess that would probably be bleeding through the walls at the SCG. You had some pretty strong coaches there, like John Longmire, as you mentioned before, Rhyce Shaw, who were, I guess, probably some of those guys who really backed you in and really gave you the self-belief after, pre-season after pre-season, knee after knee. Who were the main figures at the club behind the scenes who really backed you in to get you back to the top level, and eventually you played 2 more games. You got back in 2018. So who were those, I guess, people behind the scenes that really encouraged you and just kept you fighting?
Yeah, I think obviously first and foremost the medical staff, the physios and all of that, they backed in whatever I wanted to do. They were there to support me and help me through, recoveries from surgeries and getting fitter, getting stronger. The weights coach as well was huge. I think it's a collective thing, really. There's probably 4, 5, 6, 7 of them in the medical team that really do help you and drive you to get to that, next milestone or next goal or whatever it may be. In terms of, other people, coaches and, a lot of the players were huge for me as well. But yeah, I'd say Rhyce was the number one driver of me. I think he was playing up until the end of 2015. That's when he hung the boots up, and then obviously went into the coaching side of things. But throughout my whole career, really, he was massive for me. He sort of took me under his wing in 2011 and showed me the ropes a little bit. And I think, someone like him has great perspective on things. He's seen everything. He's been through hard times. He's been through injuries. He's lost grand finals. He's won grand finals. He's sort of seen all sides of footy, which not many people have. So to work with someone like that and have someone like that in your corner is, pretty important. But then obviously, Horse, he gave me my opportunity as a 18, 19-year-old kid to play and back me into play, which I think was massive for me and gave me a huge amount of confidence. And throughout the whole time, it was, we had conversations along the journey of, is this the right thing to do? Should you keep going? I had a couple of meetings at the end of 2015 that surgeons sort of said, look, we don't think you'll play again. You need to sort of concentrate on just being able to walk and those types of things. So those conversations were had there, and that was a side of him that he sort of showed his empathy and said, you need to figure out whether you want to do this or not. But yeah, they continued to back me in, and I'm really fortunate that they did as a footy club for such a long time. At the end of the day, a footy club is a business, and if the commodities, the players aren't giving you output, then there's probably not much point in keeping them. So, I tried to give a lot back off field, I think, and tried to help players that way. But I'm still really, I'm really indebted to the club that they did look after me the way they did.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's just an amazing story to, it's such a long period of time, 6 seasons, and have your club back you in is huge, and just shows, you must have a lot of respectability within the footy club by giving back, I suppose, through Rhyce Shaw and some of the things you did off the field, even though you couldn't contribute on the field. There's a famous photo of your mum after you did your 6th knee reconstruction, sort of bowing over the fence, you in distress. I think it was the game against Melbourne. I think it was your 2nd game back in 2018. What did that moment mean to you? Because I guess behind the scenes, parents, would have driven you to training as you're going up through the ranks, making you believe in your dream, all that kind of stuff. So that moment, that photo, that particular exact moment, what did that mean to you, having your mum support you all the way through until your last game, which was your 47th game in total?
Yeah, it's an amazing moment that was captured. I suppose it's one of those things that I think, from her point of view, over the journey, she was sort of never able to take the brunt of what I was going through. And I think that's probably the hardest thing. And I think when you go through things, it's harder for people around you than it is yourself, because you're the one fighting it or battling it, and it's not that bad. But other people around you are just helpless. But yeah, she never missed one of my surgeries. I had 12 operations on my left knee to get back to that point and play. So been through a huge chunk of my life, I suppose, in terms of ups and downs, in terms of setbacks, and the anguish and pain that comes with operations and things like that. To get back, I think it was really special. The week before, I was able to share that Collingwood game. We won by 2 points. And sort of you couldn't have scripted it any better. And to share that with friends and family and the footy club was huge for me. And then, just as you said, just a week later against Melbourne, went down towards the end of the first quarter, and I knew straight away that I'd done some damage. It was my good knee as well as my right knee, which I'd never had an issue with. To come off, and you just sort of try and keep everything in check, I suppose. Everyone's watching and waiting for a reaction, and I think she sort of came down and leant over the fence, and it was just no words were needed. She knew what had happened, and I did too. And it was just it was a pretty significant moment, I suppose. And the fact that it was captured is pretty special.
Did you know at that exact moment that was going to be your last game mentally? Do you think were there discussions behind the scenes, if it happens again, we probably can't continue? Or so when you first, I suppose, when you did it, was that sort of all over Red Rover mentally for you, or did you still think you might be able to come back?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You sort of go through a roller coaster after, I suppose. I think I sort of sat there and just tried to, take it all in, I suppose, because I thought that, potentially it could be my last game. And then, I went down to the rooms after, during the second quarter, and I just sat there and, was consoled by my immediate family, and just trying to sort of process it all. But you go through that a little bit, and I think that was sort of partly the reason I came out. There's a few pictures of me coming out at the end of the game, and I think that was sort of part of it. It was just, well, if this is the last time I'm going to be out here, I may as well sort of make the most of it. I was pretty keen to have another crack and play, because it was my good now. I thought I could, but it was understandable the way Sydney handled it, and those sort of discussions unfold over the next probably, what would it have been, about a month, I suppose. The boys played one final, I think, and then that was it. So the season was over. But it is what it is a little bit, and that's sort of the way it goes.
Now, earlier in your career, you would have played against some really good players, and obviously, against some really good players. So I'd love to know who your top 3 teammates are, who you play with, and also maybe your top 3 opponents who you played against.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Someone asked me this the other day, actually. Just one of my mates said, "Oh, who do you think the best player you ever played with was?" I'd say early days, someone like Adam Goodes was, he sort of stands out for me, just in terms of the whole whole package, really, the way he goes about it, how professional he is, and then obviously what he did on the field is second to none, really. Dual Brownlow medalist,
Yep.
two-time premiership player. He's done it all, really. So someone like him was huge for me as a young kid to come in. And I mean, if you want to figure out how to go about it, I had someone sort of a couple of lockers down that I could see and watch him, how he went about it, and he taught me a hell of a lot early days. And then who else would there be? I mean, like someone like Jared McVeigh. I think he's one of the greatest leaders I've ever come across.
Absolute star, McVeigh. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you talk about that Bloods culture. Someone like him drives it like no one else, really. What he demands off players and off himself, and the belief he sort of instills in you to go out and play a role each week is massive. And he had an unbelievable career, which was sort of the last couple of years were disappointing in terms of the amount of injuries and setbacks he had, but for him to share that last game last year with Kieran Jack was pretty special to watch. And then seeing someone like Buddy up close is pretty he's pretty amazing. He's an absolute freak, the way what he can do on the field, and obviously his body's let him down a little bit over the last couple of years, but the impact he can still have on games is absolutely unbelievable, and he'll go down as one of the greatest of all time. It's he's pretty amazing to watch. And then in terms of players played against, I mean, I'd probably go with Buddy as well when he was at Hawthorn.
He
used to tear games. No, absolutely not. No, I didn't spend much time on him, but when you did, he's just the amount of power he's got is just unbelievable. And I mean, if he had a kick straight in that 2012 grand final, the result might have been different. I think he had 11 shots at goal or something like that. So there were definitely times where he tore us apart. Who else was there? I'm trying to think. Sort of back early days. I mean, probably my first year, you play against guys that are a lot bigger than you, and it's because I was only 19. Playing against guys like Nick Rewalt, who's a champion of the game, and he's got a fair bit of size on me. I suppose was interesting. My first ever game, I played against West Coast. My debut game, I lined up on Quinton Lynch, the big Q stick.
He was one of my favourite players at the West Coast. And then I think he played at Collingwood after that. But he was the big Q stick was a great player. Yeah, he was good to watch. Yeah,
so I mean, he had about 20 kilos on me, and it was just extremely intimidating. He's an intimidating man, especially as a young kid, sort of trying to make your way in the AFL. But there's a myriad of players that I played on that were great players, and it's sort of it was great experiences all around to figure out how to try and beat them, and just do your best against them, I suppose.
Alex, as we conclude this interview today, just away from the footy field, what are some of your interests and hobbies away from footy?
I mean, I obviously spent a lot of time not being able to play footy, and so I did a business degree on the side, which was something that I wanted to explore, and something I might explore in the future. I think it's really important. I think the AFL do it really well these days in terms of making sure guys are doing something else, whether that's education or a trade or work experience or whatever it is. Something down that path, I might do that. And then I don't know, another sort of hobbies I've got to experience a fair bit is just travel as well. I love traveling. I love getting overseas or getting out of Melbourne or Sydney at that point and doing different things. So I'm looking forward to this lockdown being over and get out into the country or get down to the coast or something like that, and do something a bit different.
Yeah, definitely. As you would know, this is one thing we've got. A link we've got in common now. I've just recently done my own knee, mate. So I've unfortunately come off my skateboard, and the surgeon said high impact injury, which you'd be well aware of. If there was a poster boy for doing these, you'd probably be it. But what would you say to, I guess, myself and anyone else, any other footy player out there or netballer, anyone who's done an ACL or a PCL, what would be your advice, especially for a first-time person, about the rehab process and just trying to get the strength back within the knee?
Yeah, it's an interesting one you say. I'm the poster boy for it. It's not it's not a title you really want, but I think I think the ability to stay positive. We had a conversation the other day is just try and stay positive and have those little milestones and little goals. You know, whether that I know you're in a brace at the moment and battling away with that, but when you can, it's about sort of getting movement back in the knee, getting the knee straight, and then starting to walk again. You know, without a limp and without favouring it and stuff like that. I think those are just sort of the simple early things. I think the first couple of weeks are the worst. You know, I think the first sort of 4, 5, 6 days are horrific. You can't sleep and it's just terrible. You sort of, as I said to you the other day, you sort of forget how bad it is. And then you go through it again. And you're like, oh, you just don't want to do it again. And it's definitely, it can definitely be so frustrating that things don't go your way, and everyday things, you know, getting up and going to the toilet or having a shower or whatever can just be impossible tasks. So, it's just trying to stay positive through them. And then, you know, once you do get to that point of getting back running or getting back into weights or whatever, it's just about having those little goals to try and build on and get leg strength back and get moving again on all those things. But I think it's been, it's something that I get messaged about a lot on social media. And I think it's one of the great positives of social media that people can get in contact and ask for advice or something. I mean, I've got no medical background at all, but I can just impart on what's worked for me and what hasn't. And I think that sort of having little goals that you can set along the way and tick off as you go, it gives you a great sense of accomplishment. And it makes the longer journey seem, if you can break it down into little stages and things, it makes it a lot easier and a lot more achievable.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Well, very well said, and thanks for the advice, because I know the listeners will really enjoy hearing your input on that. And I just wanted to say thanks to Tommy Flanagan. He's the man behind the True Bloods podcast as well. So any Sydney Swans supporters out there, he does a really good job. So just type in the True Bloods podcast. Alex, been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for joining Licorice Shaw Sports on your local station, 88.6 Plenty Valley FM, and I really do wish you all the best with your current knee recovery and whatever endeavours you decide to do in the future, whether it be getting back to playing or, if not, your coaching endeavours. It's been an absolute pleasure to have a chat to you today.
Beautiful. Thanks very much for having me, and good luck with your rehab as well.
Thanks, Alex. And Alex Johnson there, 2012 Sydney Swans Premiership player. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, please make sure to give it a like. And if you want to check out some of my other videos, please make sure you click the subscribe button and give Winston Sports Media a subscribe and follow. Thank you so much.